9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Jon DiVito Show. Hopefully you guys are ready to rock today. I'm ready to rock. We've got a great show coming up. We're going to have 2Apatriotmama on from Real Patriots Voice Podcast. She is also a YouTube star, a TikTok star, all that good stuff. So we're excited to have her on. Sit back, chill, and enjoy the show today. It's going to be a good one. Man, I'm in the mood to rock. All right, up here in New England, I'm in the Boston area, as many of you know, and we are looking at our first major nor'easter of the winter. We're pretty excited about that. We're looking at a storm that could bring us up to 2 feet of snow in Boston. So this is what it's all about up here in Massachusetts. We've been lucky so far. We haven't had a lot of snow, but here it comes. Once we get into one of these patterns with one nor'easter after another coming up the coast, we get buried. So we're looking at 2 feet of snow on Saturday. So I'm ready to rock. So here we go. All right, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Jon DiVito Show. Welcome to everybody coming in. Forrest Gump, Glenn B., the cranky Podbean guy. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. You know I'm a borderline boomer. But, hey, we're getting ready for the big snowstorm. And I'm actually really glad Glenn is in here. Glenn, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, brother. I wanted to talk about, the first thing I wanted to talk about today is actually happening in Canada. Excellent. I'm glad you can hear me. So let me get to this really quickly, especially since we have my man Glenn in. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking about you before I got on the air this morning, saying that I hadn't seen you in a while. So it's good to have you back in. Let me turn this music down. So, Glenn, what do you think about this new freedom rally that's happening all across Canada? I mean, this is crazy. So, you know, for many years, I mean, weeks and months and years on this show, we've been talking about, you know, freedom in this country. We need to talk about how we need to unite as one. And this is just kind of crazy where literally across the country of Canada right now, you have like thousands of truck drivers that are now participating in this convoy where they are traveling across Canada. And they're traveling, I think it's like 300 kilometers or whatever it is they're traveling. I'm not sure on everything, but I mean, it is amazing to see these patriots that are out there fighting against the mandates and fighting against these many things that we've all been up against. So to me, some of the things that are going on right now in Canada, some of the things that are going on in the U.S., it makes me feel optimistic that maybe we're starting to turn the corner. Maybe we are starting to get to the point in this country and in this world where we're starting to realize, you know what, maybe this COVID thing has been a thing, but we are losing our freedoms daily. And to see this trucker convoy that's going on, it's just awesome. Just awesome as far as I'm concerned. So I got a few things I want to talk about before we get into the show. We have an awesome show going today. I'm very excited to have Chelsea. I see her already in there. We're going to be having the hosts of the Real Patriot Voice Podcast on. I am pumped for this interview. This is going to be a good one. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things real quick before we get to that. Hold on, if you could. Now, this is like kind of shifting gears a little bit away from politics, which I spend a lot of my time on. But now, being that I'm from Boston, I'm very happy that David Ortiz, you know, shifting to baseball, made it into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm sure a lot of you saw that happened. I mean, he's a legend here in Boston, and, you know, Boston is always called this horribly racist place, which it is not. We just don't like stupidity. But in Boston, you know, it's a great city. We love our athletes. I mean, you cannot be, I mean, Hollywood stars are one thing, but nothing compares to playing for the Boston Red Sox if you live in Boston. You are a legend in this city. And David Ortiz is the best of the best. Now, one question I want to throw out there. I see that that David Ortiz got into the Hall of Fame, which I think he should have. But the Hall of Fame turned its back on Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, and Barry Bonds. So you've got two of the best pitchers in the history of baseball were turned away, and now they cannot apply to be in the Hall of Fame again. And the same thing holds true for the all-time home run king, Barry Bonds. So I guess my question to you guys before we get into the show is that fair? Because, I mean, it was reported that David Ortiz may have used performance-enhancing drugs. And I know that Bonds, Schilling, and Clemens all used performance-enhancing drugs. Now, let me be clear. I played Division I football in college years ago. I never played professional, and I'm old. So there was, back in the 1990s when I played football, I can say that 85% of my team was on steroids for a full scholarship at a Division I college back in the day. Even one of our kickers was on steroids, believe it or not. Did I take them? Yes, I did. And my father caught me, almost killed me, and I stopped taking them because I was afraid of my father, and he got me off of them. Even though I was a 6'4", 280-pound defensive tackle, I was still afraid of my father. So he got me off. But and see, Glenn is talking about my small penis again. See, now we're interviewing some ladies now. We've got some ladies in the room, and you had to tell them about my small penis. I was trying to keep that a secret. Now it's just me, you, everybody in the room, and everyone that downloads my show that knows I'm inferior as a man. So I guess you could say maybe that makes me a beta. I don't think I am. I think I'm an alpha. But just remember, it's not the size of, the man parts. It's what you do with them. So remember that. I've got 4 kids, Glenn. And obviously my tiny little man part does work. So, it is what it is. So welcome to the show, everybody. And of course, you can feel bad for my wife, but, that's unfortunately she married me. And that's why I wanted to wait until we got married. I was a guy that waited until after we got married because, I didn't want her to see what she had to look forward to over the next 20, 30 years. So, once she was trapped, I popped the question, got the ring on her finger. Then there was the big unveiling. So she had to deal with her disappointment once we were already married. So it is what it is. All right, we're going down this rabbit hole of weirdness, and I'm going to get out of that. So anyway, weird thing with baseball, I think that they should have all gotten in. They all take steroids in the major leagues, in my opinion. So just kind of curious as to what some of you think. So anyway, let's get to the interview. I want to have the ladies call in to the show. So Erik, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Let's get this interview.
I'm doing good this morning. Hopefully 2Apatriotmama's getting ready to call in, and hopefully RPV is on his way.
Okay, here we go. We got one person calling in. So when she gets in, we'll give the big welcome. Hey, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Oh my God, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on. I am so honored that you decided to come on my show. And this is going to be fun. We're going to go at it today. We're going to talk about everything that's going on in this country. And man, there is plenty to talk about. As you heard, I started with the trucker convoy. We've got, obviously the Democratic Party. They've completely lost faith in their hero, Dementia Joe Biden, who is obviously, to all of us, not cognitively able to be president of this country right now. The whole narrative of COVID and Omicron and mask mandates and vaccine mandates, they're all falling apart before our eyes. And I have to give a little bit of applause because, as you know, I've been a huge critic of our new mayor in Boston, Michelle Wu, who, in my opinion, just a dictator. And she has installed her new vaccine ID passport in the city of Boston. And I was happy to see in the news this morning that restaurant reservations in the city of Boston have dropped 46%, and reservations in the neighboring city of Cambridge, where Harvard is located, have dropped 74% since these vaccine mandates went into play. Now, the second biggest city in the state of Massachusetts, and right near where I live, Worcester, Massachusetts, just voted down the mandate. So thank you to Worcester, Massachusetts for showing some common sense and not requiring free, loving Americans to show their papers. So, hey, I'd just like to hear from you. How do you feel about what's going on in this country right now? I mean, there's so much we can talk about. You've got Biden, you've got COVID. I've never seen a time like this in my life. What do you think?
We on our podcast last night, I just sat there pretty much. Usually I'm the loudmouth on the show, but last night I pretty much just sat there and I just, looking at everything, especially with so much going on, I just burst out. I've had enough. Like, I want to go back to a time or move forward to a time. I don't want to go back to before. I want to move forward, and I just want to be done with talking about COVID, talking about vaccines. Everywhere we turn, everything has something, commercials, everything.
It's constant brainwashing. Constant.
Yeah, it's horrendous. We're 2 years into this. I have 2 small children. I have a 10 and 11-year-old, a 10 and a 12-year-old. And, they're in school. I'm in a blue state. I'm in New Jersey.
Like me. I'm in Massachusetts. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're not as bad as New York is right now. They don't require the passports. They don't require, masks in the store. It's optional. However, in like gyms and schools, they are mandated. So, here I have my 2 small children who first, a year and a half were learning in their bedrooms on a computer. Right. Now went back, and now they're, I tried shielding them from all this. We did not we never participated in the, social distancing. We always had people at our house. But I'm looking at them and I'm like, these bastard, excuse my language,
Oh,
stole
go ahead.
2 years,
Yep.
2 years from my kids, of being in school. It's such a prime time in their lives. And, here they are now back in school with these masks on, and they can't see the other friends. They can't have lunch like normal kids. And I feel like it's just mentally ruining them at this point. Like,
Let me add
I'm over it. I'm over it.
a little angle as to what you're saying. I saw something this weekend, or actually I shouldn't say that I saw it. My wife saw it. We had a family emergency this weekend, which I can't go into too much, but it ended up with my wife being in the emergency room for 48 straight hours. And what she saw in the emergency room was you had a number of kids and adults that had COVID that were in there for different symptoms, whatever else, but there were beds upon beds out in the hallway of this emergency room. And most of those beds were filled with young children and teenagers who weren't there for COVID, but they were all having mental breakdowns, and they were suicidal, and they have lost hope in society. Now, like you, I've got 4 kids. Mine are a little bit older than yours. I've got 4 teenagers, a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and then my youngest is almost 13. He's 12. So technically 4 teenagers. And they, like your kids, they have to wear masks every day. My son, who is 15, is a very good baseball player. He had to miss 7th and 8th grade baseball, didn't get to play for his middle school team. He has to wear a mask everywhere he goes. He's on the freshman basketball team at his high school. They wear masks when they play basketball. All the kids having them hang them down below their noses. And it's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, where we have this COVID variant and we have this new Omicron variant that's out there that is really no more dangerous than the common flu. And we are still treating our children like prisoners. Now, even today, in my, I don't talk about my regular job too much, but I was on a Zoom before I get on to this podcast, and I had a meeting with some customers who were in New York. And the woman that got on was a teacher. And she came onto the Zoom 10 minutes late, and we thought she was, pulling a no-show, but she eventually showed up, and she got onto the Zoom crying. And, we had to kind of first address that and talk to her, are you okay? And she was saying that, because of the mandates being shot down in New York now, she has all these kids that are coming into school and blatantly rejecting to wear masks in the school. So her job now as a teacher is to police all these children and to tell them constantly to pull their masks up. And if they're refusing, they are being added to a list, and that list is being sent to administration in the school. And her point was, I'm a teacher. I'm not a police officer. I'm not someone here to enforce masks. And the poor thing was in tears on the call. So, I mean, this thing that we're seeing is affecting children. It's affecting teachers, professionals, adults. It is destroying the fabric of America and the world. And I mean, you're seeing it with your children. I'm seeing it with my children. I mean, I guess from your perspective, aside from resisting, what can we continue to do to make this stop?
Well, I'm active in my town and everything. So I do go to the Board of Ed meetings. We, before school started, when they said that they were not going to offer the remote learning and everything, and my kids so desperately, I was going to homeschool them. I was going to unenroll them and homeschool them, but they so desperately wanted to go back with their friends and see their friends. And, I kind of don't blame them. I couldn't fight them on this. My husband agreed with them. And I said, he's like, the worst case, he's like, if it gets bad or they try to do a vaccine mandate, we'll pull them out and then you do it. I said, okay, let's, give it a shot. So they're happy, and they're thriving, not that they didn't do well, at home. It's just that they're doing even better, being there. So, but, I don't, it's definitely a mental toll on them. Like my daughter, when this started, my daughter was 8 years old, turning 9. Now she's 10, going through puberty, going to be 11. And it's like, this is the best time. It's like all screwed up. I'm just, I don't.
No, I hear the emotion in your voice, and I get it. Like I look at my 4 kids. Again, my daughter, is 16. She's a junior in high school, but she is homeschooling. because the public school just wasn't the right place for her. And I see that a lot of the students who are now juniors and even seniors in high school, they haven't had proms. They haven't had dances. They haven't had social events. They're not being allowed. I mean, again, if you think about it, high school, like you said, and middle school or whatever, even though, there are difficult times, that during those times, they're supposed to be the best times in your life. And they're being cheated out of all of this. And it's awful. It's criminal what's happening. And like you, I mean, I'm heartbroken for my children. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 54 years old. I'm a little bit older guy. I lived in the 70s and 80s. I have never seen a time in our country where we have been dealing with the things that we're dealing with right now. And to me, this isn't just about COVID. This is about more than COVID. This is about controlling this. This is about taking away our freedom. This is about the Great Reset, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is an orchestrated worldwide attack on getting us all under control,
And they've put everybody in a position, so I go to the Board of Ed meetings, and specifically the one before school, to fight the mask mandate. And, it got very heated. I have a lot of recordings of a lot of screaming and yelling. They even tried calling the cops on us. We got loud. We got really loud, and I came home, and obviously they just sat there stone faced and, didn't budge on anything. But then, when you do your research and stuff, all of these schools and stuff, especially in these blue states, they're what a lot of people don't realize is that they're getting extra funding from the government. They're getting extra funding. And if you want to find that out, you have every right to do a Freedom of Information Act request on anything and everything, down to emails. You can find that out. And you could throw it in their faces and, prove what they're doing, that they're actually choosing money over our kids' well-being. And that's the sick part of this.
Hey, everybody. It's a currency thing. I'm a teacher as well. I'm a teacher and a mother.
Oh, okay.
My oldest girl graduated from home. They did the prom in front of my house. She was nominated queen. They came over here and blew horns and brought all the little confetti and, all of that in front of my house, which was a nice thing to do, It was not the same as going to a prom where you're actually showing off your new dress. No. You did 4 years of high school and you want to relax, you want to stay out all night. It wasn't that, and they don't understand what they're depriving these kids of.
Exactly.
We as parents, I try to put on a prom here. I try to do so much to make her feel like, you're appreciated. I'm proud of you. We picked up the diploma through a drive-through.
Oh, we did that too. We literally, for my son's 8th grade graduation, we had to sit in our car for almost 2 hours waiting to pick up our diploma via a car parade. It was so stupid.
I got in trouble. I got out because I wanted to take a picture. And you guys know I'm handicapped. So when I got out, my nurse, she grabbed the walker. And I was just standing there, with my camera. And they rushed me so fast, get back in the car, get back in the car. I'm like, I'm not going to shoot the whole bill. Come on now. I just want to take a picture of my baby getting a high school diploma. A long time ago, a high school diploma was that's it. You did that thing. Mm-hmm. You went through all this time, and you did that, And I also have a disability child. She's blind. She's legally blind, but she sees little things, And to have her not doing the same thing that she's been used to, because she's 12 now, that really took a turn for the worse. Because what those kids do is they have a memory. They use their memory to walk around. They use their memory to touch stuff. They use, and now that I can't go to school, what am I supposed to do, Mom? I can't look at the computer, really. I can't watch TV, really. What am I supposed to do? And, her and the oldest, they're way too many years apart. So it's not like they're socializing. So, but Sauce, I'm goofy. I'll play house with her. I'll do all the stuff that I think that I'm doing, but it's still not the same as these kids socializing and, playing with one another and even seeing another person smile. We're hiding these kids' smile by a mask.
It's crazy.
I know that it's a controlling thing, I just had to recently take Diamond out because 80% of the kids had COVID. So I finally took her out. Now she's homeschooled again, and she's lazy. Mama, I want to get up and do, and I'm just as lazy with her. I don't understand, why are they doing these to these kids, At first it was they were taking all our grandparents away. Now it's these kids. These kids have mental issues. These children are not the same.
Right, so
What
now-
I find so hypocritical is that at the beginning, all of this, the statistics for children were so minimal. I mean, what was it, below 1%? And
Yeah.
now all of a sudden it's skyrocketed. And then the other thing is, if you're allowed to walk into a restaurant, put a mask on, and go sit down for how many hours at the table with no mask, then you know what? Let's swap out the dining restaurant tables with the school desks, because they seem to be magical.
Right.
Well, you know what's funny too now. Now in Boston, we've got again this Mayor Wu that's a nightmare, and she has the new vaccine ID mandate in the city of Boston. She is getting ripped left and right. And the funniest thing was, I posted this on TikTok the other day. There is a mall in Boston where you can go into this mall. You can walk into this mall, spend 5 hours walking around the mall. You can go into all the stores. You can shop. You can buy goods. But then, if you decide to go to the food court and get a slice of pizza, you need to present your vaccine ID card in the pizza place. What in the hell type of sense does that make? And, now I don't know if you saw this, both of you. Now, of course, we're dealing with Omicron, which is, of course, the new variant, but not anymore. It isn't,
which I have had.
Well, they see the new narrative. They see the narrative failing. So now this morning in the news, they're reporting that the World Health officials are monitoring a new subvariant, and this one is called the stealth Omicron. So that they're going to continue to change the narrative. And 2Apatriotmama, I want to go to you also, because again, we're interviewing you today, and I want to ask you, with everything that's going on, I mean, I think the only thing we can do is, as parents, is start to stand up, because if we are not fighting for our children, nobody is going to fight for them. And they're going to continue to get down this rabbit hole of depression, anxiety, and many are going to become suicidal over what? Less than 1% chance of catching a flu and having something seriously happen to them. I mean, to me, the risk does not, outweigh the reward. So, I mean, what can we do, in your opinion, as parents, to stand up for our kids and prevent this from continuing on?
Red states obviously have an easier time. In New Jersey, obviously we have our stolen election dictator Murphy back here again. Middle of the night, same thing, ballot drop to basically win kind of thing. But
Of course.
I go to the Board of Ed meetings. I stand up. I try to get as many people as involved. We try to get as loud as possible. My township, however, is so corrupt. We're actually in the middle of doing a lot of Freedom of Information Acts of all of their emails. We know that they are corrupt. We know that there's a lot of shady stuff going on behind the scenes. So we're working together as a community to Freedom of Information Act, all of those emails, everything, all of the reports, the expense, everything. We want to know where our tax dollars are going and why they won't budge. And we're getting loud and every day. So we're looking to take down the people in my town for what they're doing to our kids, especially. Because, and that's what get involved. You have every right to find out what is going on in your towns, in your cities, and go and get all of the information and expose them. If you think something is going down, expose them. But we're getting loud every day. And we're growing, because in the beginning, when we first went, we had a Facebook page. I'm no longer on Facebook because they're,
I dumped it also.
They almost dumped me, but I
heard that. I think you're either big on YouTube or TikTok. I started a TikTok page and I had 15,000 followers in like a month, and then I got deleted because I was talking about the whole Epstein's Island deal. So I was talking about that, exposing pedophiles, and because of that, without any warning, without any strikes against me, all of a sudden you're permanently banned. So it's nice that, the TikTok values. I mean, again, you've got half-naked teenage girls dancing on the thing constantly, and no one monitors that. But, when it comes to me talking about pedophiles who are abusing children, I'm banned, and now I'm working my way back up. I think I've got like 2,500 followers. But, I mean, it's just criminal what's happening on these social media platforms.
I've been on TikTok for a year and a half. I have been through 16 accounts. I want to say I've accumulated over those 16 accounts, probably a good 250,000 followers. My latest account that's thankfully still up, has about 60,000 followers, I want to say right now. But I advocate for, child trafficking. I bring awareness for the child trafficking and child predators and all that stuff. And I put the truth out there, and I advocate for OUR Rescue. I have a fundraiser directly through them on their website. But yeah, they come after us. And then I work with a team, an undercover team called IP Conflict. The founder, actually, I'm very good friends with. He's originally from this group called Great Londini that, uncovers cyberbullies and predators that are on the app. And if I tell you how infested that app is with child predators, and, we call it CP for child porn and all that, child predator, it's insane what we uncover. And, it gets reported to, depending on where it is, we have Army vets that are on the team and stuff like that. And it gets reported to law enforcement, depending on what area that the person is uncovered. And then we uncover it on TikTok, and TikTok winds up taking us down and our videos down.
Insane.
Instead of taking down the predators that are actually, and their community guidelines show that if you have a record for that or anything, you're not allowed to have an account. But yet they take us down. And not the people that actually are breaking their community guidelines, which tells you right there, to me, they support it.
It's terrible. I mean, you're probably aware, I, through my daughter, was put in contact with someone a while back, and I did several shows. Number one on the Circle of Hope school out in Missouri, and then also the Agape boarding school. And I interviewed, I think it was 20 past students of both schools that had been physically, sexually, and emotionally abused at these schools. And one of the schools ended up being shut down. The other school, Agape boarding school, which was a much bigger organization, they fought it. We found out that they had ties in the local police department. So if a kid was being sexually assaulted, they would escape from the school and they would run to the police department, and the police had a relationship with the school and they knew what was going on at the school. They would bring the kid back to the school. The kids were not allowed to speak to their parents. The administration would go through their letters they sent to parents, would listen to phone calls, and eventually this thing blew up, and it was on TikTok. It was on some other podcasts. Finally, Dateline NBC picked this up, and they've now arrested, I think, 10 of the previous people who had worked at that school, but they still haven't shut down this particular school. And for me, there is nothing worse in this world than a coward that goes after children, that's a predator of children, that abuses children. Children are the most precious and innocent thing we have in this world. And for all of these sick people out there that are going after children, I mean, it's just disgusting. And to think that any of these platforms are allowing and tolerating this is incomprehensible to me. But what can you expect when you look at a society where your most powerful people, whether they're politicians, whether they're actors, whether they're royalty, they are all flying to an island with the sole intent of sleeping with underage children? When that is happening in the top echelons of our society, it doesn't surprise me that those people who own these big social media entities are behind it and are okay with it, because they're part of it. They're part of the problem. And this all needs to come down at some point. So I am so thankful that you are going after that, because this has hit my family as well. And I get very, very passionate about this. So I appreciate everything you're doing, to prevent this from happening. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not easy, I get it. I encounter a lot of people that, it's tough, it's hard. And, to think about it. I've dug so deep to the point that I've lost sleep. I've wound up on the dark web.
Me too.
I still have nightmares about things that I have seen, but you know what? And I get that it's hard, but at the end of the day, if we're not fighting for these kids that are still out there or possibly could get taken, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse. So the more it gets exposed, and the more these people get exposed, and, even listen, do I do the conspiracy theories? Absolutely. That's what actually got me on this track. Mm-hmm. I moved more towards the stuff that I could prove. I moved, and started exposing a lot of that as well, obviously as my priority. I throw the conspiracy theories in there too, but they do come true. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people don't know. I mean, our government alone, the border. I mean, if you don't think that this administration isn't supporting, or even if they're forget the conspiracy theory part, turning a blind eye because they're getting cuts of the money. Trump, I'll tell you straight out, Trump, when he had everybody at the border coming through and he was separating parents from children, from the adults, everybody was moaning and groaning about it. What everybody didn't know, or a lot of people do, he was actually DNA testing every single person that came across that border to make sure that that child belonged to that person. What did they find out? 20 to 30%, or actually even higher, did not belong to that adult. So what they did was, they either found the proper parents that the child belonged to, or they placed them in safe foster care homes or whatever it was. So that's why it took so long while those children were there. Biden comes in immediately, first day, cancels the border wall, ends the immigration policies, stops the DNA testing. A lot of the Border Patrol was like, what do you mean? Lost their minds over it. Said, okay, we'll do some DNA testing just to shut everybody up. I went and looked in March of 2021 alone, out of 54,000 people that came across with kids, you know how many people they DNA tested? 24 out of 54,000. And when they came across, their policy was that at the time, I think it has changed, but anybody who came across the border with a child, they only kept them for 72 hours. No DNA test, nothing, and let them out after 72 hours. Gave them a piece of paper with a court date saying that this is your date to come to court to, finalize your immigration process, and let them loose in the country. The problem is because so many people were flooding the border, they were so backed up in the courts, or they still are, that their court dates were 2 to 3 years from the day that they came in. So here's possibly a child predator, a trafficker with this child. Now you got a date 3 years from now to come into court. So this was going on. This is still going on. And then they were also taking unaccompanied minors. They actually weren't even fingerprinting. They were asking for volunteers. They were basically giving these kids to anybody. It's harder to adopt a dog than it is to go pick up a child at the border. Unaccompanied minor. So then when somebody had done the Freedom of Information Act, I had checked, this was back in March or April of last year. Since January 20th to, let's say, March or April, they had already lost contact with almost 6,000 kids that they already let into the country. No contact with them. Nothing. Couldn't find them. They lost contact of the person. They're just not responding. I did another search. I just found out that as of September, all of the kids that came across that border, whether they were with an adult or were passed off to some adult that never background checked them, fingerprinted them, nothing. As of September, 45,000 kids they lost contact with. They have no idea where they are.
45,000 kids. Think
45. 1 in 4 children that comes across that border, they have lost contact with. Now, what are we in? We're in January. I'm sure it's doubled.
That's that to me. I mean, when you hear things like that, it's almost impossible to believe that these things are happening, but they are happening and they're being tolerated.
They are absolutely happening.
A lot of people, I think, feel that the Biden administration is turning a blind eye to what's happening at the border. In my opinion, it's not a blind eye. This is an orchestrated plan. We've had 2 million people cross over into the border illegally since he has come into office. And the funny thing is, they're demanding vaccine ID passports from all of us. If you want to go get a slice of pizza at a mall in Boston, you got to have your vaccine ID card. If you want to go see the Red Sox play, you got to get your vaccine ID card. If you want to do this and that, you need to show your papers. But if you're an illegal alien coming across the border, you don't have to show any vaccine IDs. You can bring in your COVID. You can bring in your drugs. You can bring in the illegal children that you've stolen, that you're bringing into our country to put into the sex trafficking ring. I mean, what in the hell is going on in this country, and why are we tolerating it?
Well, the customers here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We are the top country for pedophile customers. That's why they bring them here. That's why, and they pay. We are infested with child predators. There was also, like, I had also contact with some Border Patrol agents through my accounts and stuff that I have met through TikTok and stuff. And, they were giving me a lot of information as well. And I mean, I don't know if anybody had seen on the news, a lot of people like, oh, they're fine. That's not going on. And I said, a little girl, it's actually going on in the detention centers down there, like right in front of their faces. They have so many that they're actually sexually assaulting these kids in the detention centers. That one little girl, this Border Patrol agent, and I have his interview on video, he actually said that there was a little girl, 9-year-old girl. And when he went over to check on her, she couldn't speak anymore. And they sent her to the hospital. They thought something was sent her to the hospital. And it's going to be very graphic, if that's okay.
Go ahead, please.
But this is the reality. This is the reality of what's going on down there. Is that this little 9-year-old girl, she couldn't speak anymore because she got gang raped in her mouth. And the Border Patrol agent did the interview, and nobody, of course, aired it. I got a hold of it, but I think maybe only OAN News probably aired it. But this is what's going on. And somebody actually came at me and said, that's a lie. No little girl got raped. I said, really? So I played the video. Of course it got taken down, but I didn't care because I wanted to show her, you naive son of a bitch. Like, are you kidding me? This is what's going on. Now, during lockdown, they uncovered that now what they were doing in all these other countries, being they couldn't get these kids here because everything was on lockdown, they actually started and they busted a ring in the Philippines. They found 14 kids in this slum house. They found video recording machines and stuff. What they were doing was they were charging subscriptions online to watch these men sexually assault these kids on live camera. The youngest was 2 years old, ranging 2 years old to 12 years old, that they found them handcuffed in this slum house. I have all of the pictures of them carrying this baby out, wrapped in a blanket, the article and everything. Like, this is what we've come to. Pay-per-view of child sexual abuse. And, I'm sure the subscribers were all over the world, but probably primarily in America.
I got to tell you, I'm literally on the verge of tears right now hearing this. I mean, this literally breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. How have we gotten to a place in this country and in this world where these things are happening? They're being permitted. No one is stopping it. I mean, what in the hell is wrong with our country if we are allowing these things to happen? I mean, it is disgusting. And it's true that pedophilia is everywhere. I'm unfortunately very familiar with it in my family. And sometime I'd like to chat with you via private message, because I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a few things, if you don't mind. I can't talk about it on the air, but I'd like to talk to you.
No, that's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah, but hearing about this is heartbreaking to me. And I'd like to just kind of stay on this topic, but also switch a little bit the focus of the topic and talk a little bit more about our current administration. And I know that, I've got, some people in here that don't love politics, others do, but to me, this is more than just about politics. And I had a show yesterday where I talked about, who is actually running this country, because let's face it, Dementia Joe is cognitively unable to run this country. I mean, I think anybody that looks at him realizes that. I have an 81-year-old father that has dementia. And, honestly, my father is in better shape than Biden is. I was talking to one of my children yesterday, and I literally said, honestly, you're 16 years old, but I would have more faith in you making the decisions that are being made in this country right now over the current president that we have. But I honestly don't believe that this guy is really running the show. There is a man or a woman or a team behind the curtain, so to speak, for, similar to the Wizard of Oz. And I was saying that maybe it's Obama, maybe it's Clinton, maybe it's Soros, maybe it's a combination of the three. Who do you really feel is running the show right now? And what is the end game of this team that seems intent on destroying America as we know it?
I think that, a lot of people think that it's Obama. And like, listen, we heard his interview. I forgot what it was on 20, wherever he was interviewed years ago. And he said he would love to run a third term. And he would be the person behind the curtain with them, in the earpiece and stuff, which I have that interview as well. But I think it's a combination of all of them. They're all in it together. Soros. I think Soros is like the money man that, pulls the puppet strings. Do I think it goes even higher up? Absolutely. But I think it's a combination of, the Clintons, because look, the Clintons have their hands in everything. Everything is, with the Clinton Foundation. Wherever you look, it's Clinton Foundation. Do I think that Gates is part of it as well? Absolutely. He's another one that's got his hands in everything. Obama's, Soros, absolutely. I think there's a group of them behind the scenes, and they just figured they'd use the Biden, knowing that he, apparently from what I had found out was that, Biden was actually showing signs of dementia when he was vice president. So they knew they were going to use him and put him up front and be able to control him. Even Kamala Harris, like, where is she? What has she done except cackle and laugh and not do her job at the border? Where is she?
I know. And, it's
a shit show.
Because anytime a man makes a comment about someone like Harris, oh, you're sexist, you're intimidated by women, you're a toxic male. I'm actually not. I'm married to a doctor.
No.
My grandmother owned a chain of nursing homes. My mother was a professional. I come from a family of very strong, intelligent women. I think that an intelligent, independent woman is extremely sexy. I would not want to date or marry anyone else. My wife, puts her family first. She's intelligent. She works hard. She takes care of the poor and the needy in her practice. She's a good woman. And for me, I would have absolutely no problem with the right woman becoming president. Right. But again, you have someone like Harris. If she's installed in office, and I think the Democrats know this, she's going to be a train wreck, and it'll set women back 10 years if you get her in office. And she can't be president. So I don't know what their plan is. Are they going to try to install Hillary? Kick Harris out and install Hillary? Who knows what their plan is? But I do hope that in 2022, we're all going to see the red wave. And of course, unless the Democrats cheat us out of office again. But once we see the red wave and we take over Congress, I think that we will see an impeachment of Biden, if he's still there, possibly an impeachment of Harris. Do you think it's a possibility that Trump could be back in office, or is that just a pipe dream?
Listen, either way, I think he's going to be back in 2024. But I said this, what was it, a year ago, that, there is a strong possibility he could wind up back sooner. I've been saying, I'm so tired of hearing all of the news about each state. Voter fraud. Listen, do we know there was fraud? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I'm tired of this, we're doing this audit. You know what? Do something. I'm tired of even the Republican side. I'm just tired of all of it. Actions speak louder than words. Stop talking about it. Stop, even Fauci, like all of this. Stop threatening and do something. Do something. So, I was a little surprised yesterday when I saw that Wisconsin voted forward to pull, and they want to pull their 10 electors back from the 2020 election. Right. Now it's going to the Rules Committee. So, I looked at that and I said, okay, that actually is something I was not expecting. That was something that, if they move to decertify, that's one thing. I as far as how that would work, if they decertify enough and will they reinstate Trump? I don't know. However, I feel that, it's a move in the right direction as far as, getting the honest answer about the election. And no matter who won at that point, I want the honest votes counted. I want our votes to matter. And everybody should want that.
Well, that's one
but
thing.
Also with,
go ahead.
Also with that, there is also, the red wave coming, in 2020. We just had our 29th Democrat looking to step down and not running for re-election.
The Titanic's going down.
Right. So, there is a red wave coming, and they're shitting their pants over it. They are. Why is Nancy Pelosi all of a sudden, she said she was leaving, and now she's came out yesterday that she's running again, because they know that there is a strong possibility that if we take the seats, they can vote in Trump as Speaker of the House. And with that, they can move, and they have said that they are immediately going to move to impeach. They can impeach both Biden and Harris, and who's next in line to take the seat for president would be the House Speaker. That's why they moved to actually change the law, the rule, whatever it is, that you can't just vote somebody from the outside, that you have to be a sitting member already to be voted in. That Pelosi moved for that. Now all of a sudden she's running again. They're shitting their pants because they know that this is absolutely possible. And, there's been a lot of people that have been talking about this on the news saying that it is a possibility, which would be the biggest Trump move I'd ever see.
Amazing. I mean, I'm sorry. Even if you don't like him, that would be the biggest boss move in the history of boss moves that this happened. And honestly, it was funny now, and this is the truth. Now, I'm obviously a Trump fan. I'm a Republican. I haven't always been. When I was younger, I voted for Bill Clinton twice. I liked him. My family were Democrats. I grew up a Democrat. I switched after Clinton pointed his little bony finger at me and lied to me about not having sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. So that's when I kind of switched teams and came over to this side. But my wife voted for Biden. I mean, she didn't like Trump. He made the grab him by the pussy comment and all the other things he said, and she didn't like him. And I get it. I understand. He was offensive to women. I'm not an idiot. I see why a lot of women didn't like him.
Yeah, you don't have to love the guy.
Right, I get it. But I mean, the bottom line is, I asked her last night, I'm like, listen, honestly, if you had to do it again, would you vote for Biden again? And she looked at me and she goes, absolutely not. She said, if this election happened again, I would run to the polls and vote for Trump this time around. She said, I didn't expect that Biden would be amazing, but I never had any inclination that he was going to be this bad. And honestly, I didn't either. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to like him. I knew I wasn't going to agree with him, but I'm like, all right, it is what it is. Hopefully he comes in. He's somewhat of a moderate, whatever. Maybe he'll find a way to unite us a little bit. Oh my God. I remember as far back, this is how old I am. I remember as far back as Gerald Ford. I was a young guy then, very, very young, so I barely remember him. But I do remember the presidency of Jimmy Carter. I was, again, very young.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, but one thing about Carter, he was a terrible president. But I don't think anyone ever thought that Carter was a bad guy. I don't think anyone ever thought that Carter hated America. I don't think he was trying to destroy the country. He just wasn't a good president. And really, after his presidency, he's done a lot of good things. He's been probably a lot better post-president person than he was
post-president.
Right? Yeah. However you say that. But I mean, Biden is just horrible. Go ahead, Eric. You got something to say?
But I think when Jimmy Carter's time in office ended, ultimately it was Ronald Reagan that saved us back in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was an amazing president, great public speaker. And it's funny because when I think back on Ronald Reagan, at that time in my life, I was still a Democrat. So I, probably back then, I don't even know if I was old enough to vote. I may not have been, but I don't think I was. I think Clinton was the first person I voted for. But with Reagan, I didn't particularly like Republicans at that point, but you couldn't not like Ronald Reagan. I mean, Ronald Reagan was a guy that would get up and give a speech. He would unite America. He would bring people together. He was able to work with both sides. I mean, he was just amazing in every aspect of his presidency. Of course, there were the powers that be on the other side that wanted to tear him apart like you have every year with every president. But I think at this point, it kills me when I look and I see people that really truly believe that there was no cheating in this past election. I mean, the proof was there. I went to bed. I don't even know what time it was, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to get up for work. So I went to bed. And when I went to bed, Trump won. My wife, looks like Trump's going to be our president again. I voted for Biden, but oh well. So I go to bed.
I stayed up.
I wake up in the morning. I'm like, what? What happened? Yeah. And then you see the videos of the voting being shut down. You see videos, proof of people sending everybody home and then pulling briefcases out from underneath the tables, bringing them over to the voting area and running the votes through. They were obviously cheating. And the thing that's so apparent to me is that, the Democrats complained that Trump won by cheating. Okay. So if you complain that Trump won by cheating and now there are allegations that Biden cheated, if we're going to be a truly democratic country and our votes are going to mean something, shouldn't we be willing to open up all investigations to make sure that there actually isn't cheating happening in the elections? Shouldn't we require voter IDs? I mean, we need vaccine ID cards now to get pizza. Shouldn't we have voter ID cards? Shouldn't we be protecting the integrity of the elections? And the Democrats were like, oh, nothing to see here. No, there was no cheating. There's no need to look at anything. They resisted everything. And to me, the only person that would put up that type of resistance, or the only party that would put up that type of resistance, would be a party that knew they cheated. And you can't tell me that Joe Biden, who spent a year and a half in his basement hiding and had, the few rallies that he had like 15 people showing up, sitting in those little circles outside in chairs. You can't tell me that guy beat Trump fair and square. It just didn't happen. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's crazy.
Like you said, if they, they came out in 2016 and complained for the same thing, the machines, the this, and that. And, I have all those videos as well. And, exactly, if you have nothing to hide, then let's open it up. The fact that they were, during the counting and everything, kicking out Republican poll watchers and putting up boards on the windows, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? If it's a fair election, then you should be wanting to open it up, especially that you complained in 2016. Both sides should want this opened up. And let's get to the bottom of it. Let's make sure that going forward, our elections are completely fair and accurate. When you're uncovering hundreds of thousands of voters on the registries and still voting while they're in their graves, that's a problem. That's a huge. My friend's father has been dead for 15 years. He apparently voted twice in this election.
Oh, Jesus. And, if you look at it too, I mean, honestly, for you, now, would it be difficult for you when you go to vote to pull out your license and be like, yeah, this is me? Is that hard? Is that hard to do that?
Yeah, they don't check in my state.
Right. They don't in my state either. And that's the thing. And you remember Biden? Biden came out and said, and, he likes to be the person that he considers to be a progressive, and he supports people of color and all that crap that he proclaims. But, then he comes out and says, well, black people don't have access to IDs. What the hell are you talking about? I mean, so you're saying that people of color can't get IDs in this country? I mean, those same people of color, you're requiring them to show their vaccine passports. So if they can get their vaccine passports, you're actually condescending enough to believe that people of color can't get IDs? I mean, that is just the most condescending, racist comment, one of many that's come out of his mouth that the press never reports on,
There's so many videos of him being that racist. And, he is very condescending. And, I have a lot of colored friends that, they see right through him. They know. They know how he is. And, wow. Yeah. The fact that he actually comes out and says that, I mean, they twist things. What was it recently that, I forgot what it was. Somebody, I think it had to do with the virus, and they turned around and blamed it on climate change. I almost got whiplash. I said, wait, what?
Yeah, climate change.
I said, what did he? I had to rewind it. I said, what did he just say? Yeah, I mean,
they just switched from narrative to narrative. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Like, and today I actually looked at the TV, and the on the bottom it said something about the Biden administration ready to take on human trafficking. I said, really? After you've let all now, you should have thought about that on day one. You should have thought about not canceling all of the stuff that Trump put into place. Now, listen, you can hate Trump all you want, but he is the one and only president that took trafficking on head on and has done so much. And this administration disgustingly reversed all of it.
It's true.
All of it.
It is true. Listen, we've got probably about 5 minutes left in the show. So I want to give you a chance to kind of, if you could, promote your show here on Podbean, promote what other types of platforms that you're on, because I do remember you from TikTok, and hopefully I'll get my membership back up again before they ban me. Same thing with Twitter. I had over 10,000 followers on Twitter. I got permanently suspended. So now I think I'm back up to like maybe two grand. I don't even know where I'm at, but I'm getting there. But I get banned all the time.
Yeah,
Facebook banned me. Now, if you're you said you're not on Facebook anymore, I still have a Facebook page called The Pussification of America. That's actually me, and I had 70,000 followers on that. But of course, every time I post anything there, I get deleted, I get banned, I get suspended. I can't boost posts. People can't follow me anymore, so it's just crazy. But yeah, I'd love to give you a chance just to promote, what you have going on, and where people can listen to you and all that good stuff. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, the podcast that we have, we used to be on Podbean, but we're more of a video kind of podcast. So we have moved to Rumble and Twitch. And I believe we just started D-Live as well. We're under Real Patriots Voice. We go live Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We share a lot of videos and proof and, on the screen. That's why we really needed to have a video platform.
I have to interrupt there now. Again, I see your picture. Now, you are made for video. For me, as my wife has told me, I have the perfect face for radio. So I'm better when you can't see me, so I try to avoid
Although my hair is bright, is red. I don't have blonde hair anymore. I just looked at that. Oh my gosh, I got to change my picture. I haven't been on here in a while.
Shell's wanted to remind you of a fundraiser and rally event that y'all have got coming up too.
Oh, yeah. So, I do have a fundraiser on the OURrescue.org website. I do have that in my link tree, which is the link to that. We've raised about $1,000 so far, I believe.
Nice.
So I'm going to keep that fundraiser open. The fact that OUR Rescue actually approved it, because it's very hard to get your fundraisers directly on their website. But I got it approved. But I have that in my link tree, which is in my bio on TikTok. Chelsea, I think she can grab my link tree. But anyway, and then I'm trying to, Real Patriots Voice and myself, we're trying to organize a complete nationwide rally for May 21st. We're going to call it Dark to Light, to bring awareness to, child trafficking and all of that.
Make sure I get that information, because I'll help you promote that as much as I can on my social media.
Yeah, we're going to try and just everybody get up. Nothing political. We don't want any political anything. We don't want anybody to feel on either side uncomfortable. No Trump shirts, no nothing, no flag, nothing with the flags. This is all about the kids. That's it. And I have actually gone global with it. I have people in Australia, Norway, there's all different countries, New Zealand, that are looking to start it there as well. So we may actually get this global. We just want everybody to get out, and we're going to try and pick, where they can go, or they'll run whatever in their countries or states. But I'm organizing the one here in New Jersey, which will be a big deal. So yeah, we want to get out and raise awareness over this.
Well, I got to say, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm honored to have you on the show, and it's good to have another Patriot on the show. And more so than even that, I mean, what you were talking about and your mission into protecting children, I mean, that is very personal to me. And thank God we have people like you that are speaking up and standing up for the children, because the children don't have a voice. They have no one to protect them.
No.
I mean, until adults start standing up and protecting our babies, this is going to continue, and it can't continue. It can't.
No.
So,
and you know what, too? We also give a voice to all of the survivors as well. I can't tell you the amount of survivors that have shared their stories with me personally behind the scenes, or on the show, or on my page. They just, they have a home on my page. And I tell people, if you are a survivor, listen, you always have a voice. If you want a platform, I have it for you. I'm here.
Before it disappears in my chat there, Chelsea did put in the Linktree things. You have to scroll up a little bit to see it, but the Linktree's in the chat area now, and she maybe could post it again so you guys can all see that. So if you want to check it out, please do. And I'll tell you, Chuck, you could probably be the modern version of Dexter, where if you wanted to be that serial killer to go out and kill pedos, I could bankroll you on that one. That would be something.
That's another thing I'm looking into, is actually starting our own pedophile hunter investigation group. I have some NRA people and some law enforcement.
My family is lucky to have some resources. So if you're going to do that, let me know. I'll make a donation to that, and I will.
Yeah, we just started talking about it.
Reach out to me when the time's right, and I'd be happy to kind of help support you in that venture a little bit. Okay, so thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah,
so,
pleasure
Erik,
to have you.
why don't you let us know what else is coming up, and then we'll. And actually, you know why I have to go now is my 7th grader actually has a date to go snowboarding with a girl at the mountain, and I have to pick her up and drive them to the mountain. So I'm going to get to witness my 7th grader on his first date today in the back of my car. So that should be interesting. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I've already told him that.
Enjoy.
Tell me if I'm correct. I've already told him that, number one, you will not be sitting in my car and texting her to tell her that we are there. You are getting out. You're going to ring her doorbell, and you are going to get her to come into the car. And then when you go to the mountain, you need to have some money in your pocket because you are going to be buying her snacks and food and whatever she wants, because that's what you do on her first date. So,
that's how you raise them.
Right. Do it right.
Good job.
Do it right if you're going to do it. So. All right, Erik, go ahead. Let us know what's coming up, and then we'll wrap this up.
If you want to find 2Apatriotmama, you can look for her over on Rumble and on Twitch and DLive on the Real Patriots Voice Podcast with RPV and Chad and a couple other co-hosts of theirs that you'll see regularly. And you can probably see them weeknights around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Nope, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
8 to 10.
Yes.
So
oh my God, did Erik make a mistake? Erik, you made a mistake? I've never heard you make a mistake before.
Yep. And also
no, actually he didn't, because that was our original.
Oh, all right. I was hoping to catch him. All right.
And look for Real Patriots, voice, co-host 2Apatriotmama also on TikTok as well. And Shell's just plug that handle down in the chat. And I also text you links, John, to the Twitch and the Rumble and the handle for her TikTok to post in the published show description. Nice. And coming up on Podbean Live, you've got, coming up today, you've got the Frankie D Show and Solid Blue Sister and John Gale this afternoon. And then you've got Slacker 82 Alpha and Low Standards and Pours and Shannon Lynn in prime time. And don't know if the Beans and Weenie Show is coming back this evening or not, but hopefully Spanky, despite his COVID dilemma, is starting to feel better, and hopefully him and Scooter start back to doing those shows again very soon. And I'm sure you Patriot Mama and you, Shells, are definitely going to touch base with them and send them your well wishes.
Of course.
And then of course, the Ralph William podcast, the Unsupervised Podcast in the morning, followed by the Old Man's Podcast with Dina, Joe, and Erik at 10 a.m. Eastern. And definitely be on the lookout for the Jon DiVito Show to do more new shows again very soon. And then
I might
check out Chuck and Billy's Not Your
Friday. You never know. I might pop in with one. We'll see. I'll let you know if I do.
And of course, Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea on Tuesdays and Thursdays in prime time. And I think Chuck has also said something about wanting to revive the Inside the Morgue podcast next time you touch base with him, John.
Yes, dude, if that's what you wanted to talk about, I would love to. Chuck and I'm a big horror movie fan, and Chuck and I were doing some reviews of horror movies. Absolutely, I'd be down with that. So let's talk about that. I know Caitlin would be involved also, my daughter. So yes, I'm down with that. So text me and we'll talk about it, Chuck.
Oh, I didn't realize.
This Swap Doesn't Lie on Friday evening, and then you've also got the Dude Sean and the It's Doomsday podcast and Crazy Train and Coltrane and other friends this weekend, and also be on the lookout for the Slightly Serious Show when James is also feeling better too, and I know January's winding down and February is almost here.
Well, we're ready for a big one. Now, are you guys getting the big storm in Jersey? We're getting 1 to 2 feet up here.
Yes, I don't know how much, but yeah, we're gonna get snow this weekend. Listen, it's winter.
It is what it is, right? Exactly.
It is. Where am I going at this point in a blue state?
Right. I'll bunker down in my blue state. I can't go out and get food anyplace, so I'll just sit home by my pellet stove and stay warm, I guess, on Saturday.
Actually, I think one of my co-hosts is in here. Chad, if you're in here, let's just do some podcasts this weekend if I get snowed in.
That's a good idea. All right. Again, thank you so much. All right, guys, I got to wrap this up. I get a son to get to a date, so I'm going to let you guys go. But thank you so much again.
Thank you again.
It was a pleasure. All right, take care, everybody. My pleasure. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Love you, and God bless you, everybody. We'll see you around Podbean. And
I played the wrong music. That's right. I like this song, though, so we're going to go with this. All right, everybody. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
That's what happens when you put a borderline boomer at the controls. We all know it. Later, everyone. Love you all. Thank you for coming in. I love everybody except for Chuck.
And Glenn.